Good afternoon, everyone. This is Wake Up Everybody with Brother Phil and Brother Amir. It's August the 14th, 2024, and we just want to have a discussion. Brother Phil, you know, we always talk about, us as African American men and the different challenges that challenge that we face on a regular basis. Our fathers before us, just the generation in the history of black men. But now we have our sons, our grandsons that are following us. What's your take on the plight of the young black man in today's era with the way the world is changing so drastically and at rapid speed?
Well, my take on it, man, these young men that I see, in this new digital age, information age, with this advent of the internet, there's plenty of information out here, but I just think a lot of our young men are misguided. And as you speak, our fathers or our forefathers, we come from a different generation. And, my influences, I have four older brothers, along with, I was a actual, say, supporter of the ideology of Elijah Muhammad, a Malcolm X quite naturally, and Marcus Garvey. Now, you can correct me if I'm wrong. I don't know if this generation is still in touch with the ideology of those men. You know what I'm saying? Because what I'm seeing is a lot of unfortunate ignorance amongst our young men. We're consumers now. We're like, who's got the nicest Jordan collection? Who's driving the finest car?
Right.
Who's living in the most expensive neighborhood? Who's throwing the most lavish party? Without going down that road, these celebrities that these young men follow, all they're doing is teaching them about consumption. Right? I don't see anybody trying to build within the community to make the next generation after us or these young men behind us build and become a greater society. So, we as African American men with a certain amount of responsibility and, of course, our knowledge in this journey that we've been on, I would love to see more conversation about community building. One of the major things you don't see in the black community is rites of passage that would help our young men become better men. You know what I'm saying? So that's just something I think we need to see more of it, less of the foolish stuff that we see circulating on the internet. You know what I'm saying? And I know that's what we're trying to create here, an opportunity to just have open conversation about general things that we know are healthy.
Absolutely. One thing I think too also, when you think about our generation, and the generation before us, when you thought about a black man, and the small opportunities that they had, a lot of those opportunities they created, right? Do for self, some type of business, or they had manufactured jobs, they had skills. They learned a skill set, whether it was from the school, having a course in school, or they had a family member, a relative, or somebody that gave them apprenticeship to come and learn how to use their hands, use their body in order to make these different things to make a decent living for them. We had, whether it was, you know, great leaders in the nation, great, church leaders, political leaders, leaders just in the community. Every day that you've seen that man get up and go to work, that was in our neighborhoods. We had neighborhoods that we knew everybody and everybody looked out for one another. Today, our new leaders are entertainers, athletes, people that we're glorifying on TV. We put a microphone in front of their face. We're asking them questions about everyday life where they've now escaped that. So they don't have anything to really bring to the table to the everyday child, young man growing up outside of, guess what? I want you to be a part of this organization, showcase your talents on the field, showcase your talents if you could sing or dance or, those types of things. So we're lost when it comes to, how we're going to navigate to bring these young men boys up to be young men and productive men and great fathers in the society in which we live in. We've spoken of who are the young black leaders coming up in today's society. You know, we always say that if you got a girl, you know, a young daughter, you know, normally it was like, okay, that daughter wanted to marry somebody like their father that had a responsible, loving, caring, you know, disciplinary father. You wanted a man like your father. Today, can we can we say that today?
Well, I can't say that. And like I said, man, a lot of the young people today are influenced by the shows they see, the information that's put out in the media, and it's still a negative connotation that's associated with being black. And then most people now too are so consumed with being rich. Everybody wants to be financially rich.
Right, right.
Okay, you can have all the money in the world, but if you don't have this thing working,
Mm-hmm.
all you're gonna do with that money is do foolish things,
True.
right? So just take for example, I mean, I didn't learn this in school, the school I attended, but truly understanding your credit, how your credit affects you, you know, say as you become older when you want to buy your first home, your first car, you know, then I learned how it works. And then I also found out, you know, I have grandchildren now.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I can put my grandchildren down as authorized users
Mm-hmm.
on a credit card.
Right.
And that helps give my grandson a credit profile. And by me doing that, this young man is already getting offers. Right? Of course, he doesn't know about it because he's only 13 years old.
Right.
But of course, with the wisdom that I have, he listens to me. My goal for him is to have him be a homeowner when he graduates high school.
There you go.
You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And then, you know, this is a simple thing. You don't have to be a mathematical genius, but instead of buying my grandchildren a bunch of foolish toys that they outgrow, what I do, I have savings accounts for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a chart. I wish I had it that I could put up on the screen, but it shows 52 weeks in a given year. So from week 1 to 52, week 1, you actually deposit $1. Week 2, deposit $2. Week 3, deposit $3. Week 4, $4, all the way to week 52.
Mm-hmm.
The largest deposit you make is $52.
Right.
So that comes up to about $1,300 a year,
Mm-hmm.
right? You don't have to be rich to do that.
Right.
And let's just imagine in a family, you get mom and dad, big bro, auntie, grandma, grandpa to help.
Mm-hmm.
They choose a week, right? So now, if you did this just for 10 years, we're talking with no interest, not investing it, that's $13,000. But we understand too, without getting complicated in the investment side, you take that money after it reaches a certain amount, roll into a dividend earning stock. I know a lot of our kids like Nike, right? Why not buy 10, 20 shares of Nike?
That's right.
And with that simple mathematical saving solution, the average child will graduate school with over 20 to 25,000 in capital,
Mm-hmm.
and then with a credit score already backing him or her, they'll have access to another $50,000 to $100,000 with just a high school diploma.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
With the capital, the financial capital to basically bank any type of business they may want to start. Like he said, ready to purchase his home.
Yeah.
You know, he can show that he has a positive cash flow. I remember back in the day, my parents had we had Christmas clubs.
Okay.
You know, Christmas clubs. So at the end of the year, you know, we wanted to go on a trip or we wanted to buy something. We had a certain amount of money in the Christmas club, which was basically an account at the bank.
Right.
You know, but it was supervised by your parents, but your name was able to be on there. It was your personal savings account, checking account, but more of a savings account because we weren't writing out any checks back then.
Right, right.
But it was called the Christmas Club. So yeah, absolutely. I think too, another thing that's missing, and you know, I'm even seeing it missing more at the different African American events. There used to be a time where there was no event that I did or went to where we seen brothers or sisters with books.
Okay.
You know, selling books, bookstores, online bookstores. Now it's like they slowly but surely have disappeared altogether. You know, there always used to be a bookstore somewhere in the black community. You know, that you could get any type of literature that you may be looking for. Somebody may refer you. You need to get this for yourself, get this for your family. Now those bookstores are basically dinosaurs, dying out. So there's so many different pieces to this puzzle that we see from our side and the length that we've been on this planet, that these things are constantly getting taken away. We think about the school system, even here in Georgia, they want to remove black studies in the state of Georgia. We already know what they want to do in the state of Florida. You know, so we're starting to see these little pieces. You know, just think about that pie. They're starting to take away pieces of this pie that made this whole for us to be proud, to know who we come from, our heritage, our culture, learn new things that we invented, that, you know, other people have stolen. And now they're slowly but surely, you know, taking these things away. We are not supporting it. We're not talking about it enough, you know, in our own communities. Like you said before, how many times have we said this? How many houses have we been in that we're going in houses that African American houses, and there's not a book in sight,
Right.
not even a magazine. It used to be a time that, you know what, if anything, mom or pop stopped by, had the newspaper delivered to the house, but you had a newspaper in the house. We no longer know that, okay, everything is online. Like you said, this is all digitized. But we don't see a book, a magazine in our households. So what is that telling us? We're gathering all our information from somebody else's sources.
And while you're speaking of books, because, you know, like I said, always been an avid reader. It's just something that I took a liking to as a child. Three books that I think every young African American male should start reading, and I would say about sixth grade. The Autobiography of Malcolm X, as told to Alex Haley. I think that should be a passed down generational. We're going to have discussions about it. And I have Think As a Man Thinketh by James Allen. That book was written in the 1920s, I think. But As a Man Thinketh by James Allen, the Autobiography of Malcolm X, as told to Alex Haley. And the third one, I would say, it was more of a new age. He didn't become, of course, Malcolm X, but just a coming of age story. It's called, it's by Nathan McCall. What's the
Make you want to holler?
Yeah, It Makes Me Want to Holler.
Make you want to holler?
Yeah, It Makes Me Want to Holler by Nathan McCall. I think those three books, every young black male should read those somewhere starting in the early middle school through high school. And then they should be able to write essays on it and then have discussions openly about what they learned in those books. And I think it would change your perspective. And what you were saying about the digitization of information, you just think about it, we're oversaturated with a lot of information, but we're old enough to see through the foolishness. So the healthy stuff that young people should be having access to and discussing, it's eliminated. I'm a sports guy, you're a sports guy. We can talk sports all day long, but that does not benefit our families.
True.
That's just entertainment. So you got these young men out here that aspire to be athletes, but behind the scenes, right, if you can afford to pay a top athlete, baseball, football, basketball, salary of $40 or $50 million a year, how much money are you making?
True.
Right? I think you had said something to me before. These are some things I didn't know. You were talking about a stadium. I think you were referencing the Dallas Cowboys, the kind of revenue that comes in that stadium, right? The money that Jerry Jones and his family makes.
Yep.
Right? So we're still sitting here wanting to be a product, right? Versus behind the scenes, you want to get involved in concessions. If the team has some stock you can buy, you want to do that. But for us to get involved on that level, we have to become definitely more involved in learning about how these businesses run. I think there's another thing that you shared with me about if you're a big football fan. I think was it Amazon? Prime.
Amazon.
It's a Thursday Night Football.
Amazon bought the rights for Thursday Night Football,
Right,
because again, it used to be on the NFL Network station.
Right.
Where if you had, you know, the NFL package, you would be able to watch the NFL games.
Right.
Amazon spent $7 billion,
Wow.
just $7 billion, $7 billion for one night.
Right.
So that's just one.
Mm-hmm.
We're not talking about ESPN,
Mm-hmm.
Saturday, NBC, the football package, CBS, that houses Fox, that house all these NFL games throughout the season, that they're paying the NFL organization. They're talking about billions and billions of dollars
Right.
that these owners are accumulating. So, and then we're not talking about concession, ticket, parking, all the different brochures, your jersey, your favorite team's hat,
Mm-hmm.
So the money is ridiculous, and yes, we get caught up because these are the people that we see on the field, and we want to cheer for the team that we like, and we come to like the individual players and the positions, but we're not paying attention to the owner, you know.
And can you imagine if you get a LeBron James, a Michael Jordan, a Magic Johnson, who we know, of course, all exceptional basketball players, but think about the money that these three men, as a collective, they control. Imagine if they sat down and said, I'm going to go to each NBA city, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a mastermind group amongst some community leaders in these specific, of course, we usually are referencing the larger cities,
Mm-hmm.
Atlanta, Chicago, New York, DC. But just imagine if they came and, with their finances and their resources, decided to back a program would take young men that may not be exceptional athletes, play ball, but get them involved on the business side.
Mm-hmm.
Almost like LeBron James has, I think his agent's name is Rich Paul.
Right.
And if I'm not mistaken, this young man's friendship with LeBron James catapulted him into
True.
the industry of being an agent.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So, of course, that's one gentleman.
Mm-hmm.
But imagine you find young minds that have that same ability, and then you put the financial backing behind them to get them in that industry. So it will be more represented versus just that one.
Just think about this. There's not a mall in the country, from the West Coast, Midwest,
Mm-hmm.
Southern states, Northern states, a mall in this country that you could go through, and it doesn't have multiple, sneaker stores,
Right.
right? Selling all our favorite players' sneakers
Mm-hmm.
that they're being paid crumbs, from Adidas, Nike, Reebok, New Balance. We could go on and on and on, right?
Mm-hmm.
The same people that you mentioned, they can't come together and say, guess what? The same places that they're manufacturing their sneakers in China, Malaysia, wherever they may be, manufacturing a sneaker. Why can't we create our own sneaker? Because we know what that number looks like. We're talking about trillions of dollars that is spent every year with sneakers. We all wear them. We
Mm-hmm.
all like them. From the time that baby comes out, we're putting our babies in sneakers. To the time
Yeah.
we're older and we're more, settled, we're still wearing some form of sneaker for comfort,
Yeah.
right? But we don't have one, let alone a group, household names that will go down in history. The Magic Johnson, you said LeBron, the
Yeah.
Michael Jordans. We could go on and on and on in all sports. Not one that doesn't make any sense. But it's designed that way. Feed them a little bit, make them become more individualistic. Forget about the bigger picture, the whole, and continue to stay on that individualism, and you will keep them in the same position that they've been in the whole entire time. It's no different than that game that they play with us. When one makes it, make sure that that one manages the ones that haven't made it, and make it hard on them to try to even make it. So it's a game that they continue to play. We continue to fall into these traps. Hopefully the younger generation is waking up. It's our job as the older generation to take them as much as we can, lead them as best we can for those who are eager and hungry, to provide that knowledge, wisdom, and understanding where they will be able to give back to their newborn and their families and friends and loved ones that will, surpass them as the next generation is evolving every single day.
And one of the things, man, that I'm, like I said, real big on, right? Grassroots issues are usually where most things start from grassroots and they build, they become, national or international things, right? So just imagine, just like the discussion we're having, you get these people that are famous because quite naturally they draw a crowd. And this is something that I've always thought about. Just I'm gonna use Michael Jordan as an example because everyone likes to put him in this discussion as the greatest basketball player ever. But he has the power to draw in quite a few people, and he represents quite a few organizations as a sponsor. They pay him for that. But just imagine if, like I said, he decided I'm going to go on a speaking engagement through the United States. And what my goal is to come into these communities. I start in Chicago because he's a Chicago Bulls legend, which associates him with Chicago.
Right.
Now, Chicago still has major issues within the community with black males. I believe they still have a high murder rate. Still got young men losing their lives senselessly. It's the black male. So imagine if Jordan goes in there. You got Isaiah Thomas. You got Mark Aguirre. You got, I think, the younger man, Quentin Richardson. Doc Rivers,
Anthony Davis.
I can give you Dwayne Wade. I can give you a list of all the outstanding players that came out of that city that all have influence over these young men. So imagine if someone like him wouldn't cost him any money, it's just time to go sit there, bring them men in, like I said, a think tank. And what they would do is just go community by community. They all have the collective wealth, buy the vacant lots, the abandoned buildings, find the entrepreneurs. We know they're in every city, right? We're in Atlanta. Atlanta has, this is the new mecca for African Americans, right? But you take him going to Chicago, of course, coming to Atlanta. Atlanta, you got the Dwight Howards, you got who's this young kid, Anthony Edwards. Right.
You have Josh Smith. You have Luke Williams.
Matter of fact, Jaylen Brown. Right? I think he's on something like that up in Boston.
Right.
That he's doing. But that would be something that, like I said, I'm speaking grassroots, but those men have the power. You and I can talk about it, but they have the ability overnight to bring
instant change.
There you go. And at the end of the day, when we talk about creating jobs, I think it's Dr. Umar Johnson made this here in reference to the billionaires that we sit here and glorify, right? I guess it's the Jay-Z's, the Diddy's, the Beyonce, I think Rihanna, and I think what Dr. Umar was alluding to, he said, how many jobs do they create?
Right.
You understand
how many people do they employ?
There you go. And that's the difference between us and everybody else.
True.
Right? And like I said, I'm sure you can agree with me on the idea that I'm just putting forth. These people can create so much change that we don't have to wait for the government. We have the ability. Because when I get my paycheck and you get yours, we spend it where we want to spend it.
That's right.
Right? So that would be something I would love to see in the schools in the inner city, where a teacher, grassroots, would talk to the students, teach you about credit building, and then what a think tank does for you, or mastermind group, you're just putting ideas out there, right? You have ideas, I have ideas. Doesn't mean mine's better than yours or not, but you put them out there, put them on the table. Then you go through each idea till we find the one that is most sensible, and then we put that idea out there. You know what I'm saying? It's just like when we're talking about growing our own food. You know, something that probably for you, just recently you want to share your latest.
Oh yeah, definitely, most definitely. I'm glad that you brought it up because I forgot about that. But this week, the okra came out. And I was excited to see the okra and the ginger coming out. I end up putting okra in our water. That I make my okra water, and man, just to know that it came from Mother Earth, and I'm putting this in my body, and I know that it's all natural, it's all natural, man. I'm just, man, I want to give some more land just to have a farm, man. You know what I mean?
But so this is why I alluded to that. Imagine with what you understand now. Let's say you go into a classroom of 7th grade boys, and you tell the teacher that, I'd like to come in here and teach your class how to grow okra, cucumbers, and what else? Ginger, and what else would be easier?
Watermelon.
Watermelon.
Mm-hmm.
So you start it during the proper season.
Mm-hmm.
You go over what you understand about getting ready to prepare it. But just imagine how these young people would feel
Right.
finding out that they themselves grew and harvested this produce that they could bring home to their families.
Right. And put it on their tables. And
Right.
this is what they're going to eat.
And then we're big into
drink.
juicing.
Right.
So you show these young men, because I'd be willing to spend my money to buy a juicer for them without a problem.
Mm-hmm.
Then you show them, instead of buying that Coca-Cola, that Pepsi, and all that other stuff that's no good for them,
Mm-hmm.
show them how to grow and make their own healthy juice. Imagine that.
I can imagine. I can imagine.
Right?
Yeah. And it's something that, like I said, over time, when you start seeing something come up
Mm-hmm.
in its natural form from a seed,
Yeah.
it's a beautiful thing.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's what I'm saying to you. I might, for some people it may sound simple because everybody wants to think over the top. I want to be the next Einstein. I want to be the next whatever this dude with the Tesla. Those are all good things.
Right.
But being able to grow your own food on a plot of land, when you just mentioned having your own farm, that would be, lovely thing to do.
Mm-hmm.
But people need to understand, on a 5x5 plot, you can literally harvest enough food to feed your family.
That's true.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah. So, great episode. To the next time. This is Wake Up Everybody, August the 14th, 2024. We want to wish everyone a blessed and healthy remaining day. And to the next episode, thank you for tuning in.
All right. Peace, y'all. Until the next time.